everyone, welcome to my channel again. So let's dive into a comprehensive exploration of how the brain processes sensory information, breaking down each aspect and detail and using simple language to make it easily understandable. Understanding the sensory processing. In this we will talk about interpreting information from our senses. Sensory processing is the way our brain interprets information gathered from our senses, which is sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Each sense plays a crucial role in how we perceive and interact with the world around us. Our brain processes this sensory information to create a coherent understanding of our environment and guide our actions and responses. First, we will talk about sight. Our sense of sight or vision is one of the most important ways we perceive the world. It allows us to see colors, shapes, and movements, providing vital information about our surroundings. The process of sight begins when the light enters our eyes through the cornea and passes through the pupil. The light is then focused by the lens onto the retina, a layer of light-sensitive cells at the back of the eye. These cells, called photoreceptors, convert light into electrical signals that are transmitted to the brain via the optic nerve. In the brain, visual information is processed and interpreted by the visual cortex located at the back of the brain. Different regions of the visual cortex specialize in processing specific aspects of visual information such as color, motion, and form. Through complex neural networks, the brain integrates and organizes this information to create a coherent visual perception of our environment. Second, we will talk about hearing. Hearing or the auditory perception allows us to detect and interpret sounds in our environment. Sound waves travel through the air and enter the ear canal, causing the eardrum to vibrate. These vibrations are then transmitted through tiny bones in the middle ear to the cochlea, a spiral-shaped structure filled with fluid and hair cells. The hair cells convert the vibrations into electrical signals which are sent to the brain via the auditory nerve. In the brain, auditory information is processed and interpreted by the auditory cortex, located in the temporal lobe. The auditory cortex analyzes various aspects of sound, including pitch, volume, and timbre, to create a perceptual representation of the auditory scene. The brain also integrates auditory information with other sensory inputs such as visual and tactile cues to enhance our understanding of the sounds we hear. Third is touch. Our sense of touch allows us to perceive pressure, texture, temperature, and pain, providing important information about objects and surfaces we encounter. Touch receptors located in the skin and other tissues detect mechanical stimuli such as pressure and vibration. When activated, these receptors generate electrical signals that are transmitted to the brain via sensory nerves. In the brain, touch information is processed and interpreted by the somatosensory cortex, which is located in the parietal lobe. The somatosensory cortex contains a detailed map of the body with specific regions dedicated to processing sensations from different body parts. This allows the brain to discriminate between different types of touch and accurately localize sensory stimuli on the body surface. Next, we will talk about taste. Our sense of taste or gustation allows us to detect and discriminate between different flavors, helping us to identify and enjoy food. Taste buds located on the tongue and other parts of the mouth contain specialized receptor cells that respond to different taste qualities, which is sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. When stimulated by chemical compounds in food, these receptor cells generate electrical signals that are transmitted to the brain via the gustatory nerve. In the brain, taste information is processed and interpreted by the gustatory cortex, located in the insular cortex of the brain. The gustatory cortex integrates taste signals with other sensory inputs such as smell and texture to create a holistic perception of flavor. This allows us to appreciate the complex and nuanced taste profiles of different foods and beverages. And fifth one is smell. Our sense of smell or olfaction allows us to detect and discriminate between different odors, influencing our perception of taste, flavor, and the world around us. Olfactory receptor cells located in the nasal cavity detect airborne molecules from odorous substances. These receptor cells send electrical signals to the olfactory bulb, a structure located at the base of the brain via the olfactory nerve. In the brain, smell information is processed and interpreted by the olfactory cortex, which includes several regions in the frontal and temporal lobes. The olfactory cortex analyzes the chemical composition of odors and assigns meaning to different smells based on past experiences and associations. This allows us to identify familiar scents, detect potential dangers, and experience the rich tapestry of smells in our environment. Integration of sensory information. The brain integrates information from multiple senses to create a unified and coherent perception of the world. This process, known as multisensory integration, allows us to combine information from different sensory modalities to enhance our understanding of our surroundings and guides our actions and behaviors. Multisensory integration occurs at various levels of the brain, from early sensory processing areas to higher order association cortices, and it plays a crucial role in perception, cognition, and behavior. Next is challenges and disorders in sensory processing. While sensory processing is typically seamless and effortless, some individuals may experience challenges or difficulties in processing sensory information. Sensory processing disorders, which is SPDs, are conditions characterized by atypical responses to sensory stimuli, leading to difficulties in regulating and interpreting sensory input. SPDs can affect one or more sensory modalities and may manifest as hypersensitivity, or sensory seeking behaviors. Now, common SPDs include: first is sensory overload. Individuals with sensory processing difficulties may become overwhelmed or distressed by certain sensory stimuli such as loud noises, bright lights, or crowded spaces. Next is sensory seeking. Some individuals may seek out intense sensory experiences or engage in repetitive behaviors to self-soothe or regulate their sensory arousal levels. Next is sensory avoidance. Others may actively avoid or withdraw from sensory stimuli that they find aversive or uncomfortable, leading to social withdrawal or isolation. So, in summary, sensory processing is a complex and dynamic process through which the brain interprets the information received from the senses to create a coherent understanding of the world. Each sense plays a unique and complementary role in shaping our perception and guiding our behaviors. By understanding the mechanisms and principles of sensory processing, we can gain insights into how our brains perceive and interact with the environment, as well as develop strategies to support individuals with sensory processing difficulties and enhance sensory processing for all. Thank you.